All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit more about our really healthy relationships and you, but we're going to go into more of a family and friends and relationships with our peers and our family. So more specifically, we're going to do more into our support system. So can you guys think of anyone who supports you, gives you that pat on the back, maybe makes you proud of what you have done, what you have accomplished? Maybe it's a family member or a close friend, or maybe it's just some stranger on the street. You never know. So what we talked about in chapter 6, I had you guys read that over and answer any of the questions that you guys had within the chapter. So we're going to talk a little more with the importance of having a strong support system. So our support systems, they can consist of family members, close friends, teachers, trusted adults, and even acquaintances, even strangers out the streets. You never know. So what we're going to do today, I have a quart-sized mason jar. It's plain, you name it. Find it anywhere, grocery store, anything. It also comes with a cap, so a lid, a cap, you name it. We're actually going to need the cap today too. So what we're going to do is this mason jar, it represents you. So it represents you in a whole. So think of your support system as a whole. This is you. So what we're going to do with the mason jar is we're actually going to take a little label. So I have a little note card here. It's plain, right? So we're going to take the note card. We're going to break off like a little piece of it. While you're doing this, kind of think of how many people are kind of your support system. Like who supports you the most? I know a lot of people will probably say their parents, their mom, their dad, like the typical stuff. But like deep dive deeper, a little bit to find if maybe have someone else that's a little more special in your life. So what I did is I took a little corner off of here. So I took a little corner, ripped it off. This thing is actually going to be our label for our jar. Yay! So we're going to write me. So we said the jar represents me, so we're going to write me on the paper. So like that. Okay. Now you're going to take a piece of tape, 2 pieces of tape. You kind of want to make sure it covers the whole entire paper so that if for some reason it gets wet, then it's not a big deal, then it won't rip. Okay, so this is what I've got. Okay, so this is going to go on our jar. The easiest way to place it on your jar is more towards the bottom of the jar so you can see how it fills up. Not on the design side. I do it on the measurement side of what you can see here. So this side, not the design side. So, and stick it more towards the bottom. So something like that will work. So we've got 3 different things that we're going to fill our jar with today. So we're going to kind of stick with our typical 3 support systems we kind of think of. So we think of our family members, our friends, and then our acquaintances or like other people around us that maybe we're not so close with. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a Sharpie marker. Everyone's going to get a Sharpie marker. You're going to write on the marker. We're going to write on the rocks. So I've got big rocks right here. So first off, you're going to need big rocks. A whole bunch of these. You're going to need smaller rocks. And with the small rocks, grab a measuring cup so that you can measure out the rocks so it doesn't make as much of a mess. I just grabbed a 3rd cup measuring cup, and I think this works the best. And then the most messiest part, the sand. So we got some sand, and yes, I'll be using the scooper to scoop the sand out. It's about an eighth cup. It works perfect. I mean, the mouth of it is pretty big, so should work. Alright, so back to the big rocks. We're actually going to take our ideas of what our biggest supporters are. So what are your biggest supporters in your family? Is it family members, maybe closest friends? You never know. Grandparents, maybe a guardian of some sort. You never know. So for me, I would have to say my parents would be my biggest supporters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write on a rock one person. So I wrote my mom on one rock, okay? And then we're just going to start filling our jar with our rocks, okay? So I chose to do about 9 people. I'd say at max maybe do about 10 people, because you do have a lot of supporters in your life that can kind of support you. And I also wrote my dad, because he's also very supportive with me. They're very helpful, especially with schooling and everything. Say grandparents, so grandma, grandpa. And sometimes the rocks are a little small, so like you can kind of abbreviate, and if you know what it means. So like I write Gma for grandma, or Gpa for grandpa, because those are kind of a little long to spell out on a small rock. So what you're going to do, keep going with all this. So I've got my mom, my dad, my grandma, my grandpa. I've also got siblings, so like my sister is one. Maybe aunts and uncles, maybe you're close to them. Maybe you're close to your cousins. You never know. So you're trying to figure out who are your biggest supporters. And then one other thing that people might find, hey, maybe they are my biggest supporter, but I never know, are pets. I mean, when you're down in the dumps, like, what do you turn to when you're at home? Like, do you actually go talk to your parents? Like, who do you talk to the most? Like, I was that kid that maybe talked to their pets, maybe vented a little bit, because you never know. There might not be someone to vent to, because if you're having a fight with your friend, who are you going to vent to? You're not going to vent to your parents. So, like, my pet. My pet is also very comforting when I have to vent to someone, because they just sit there and listen because they don't talk. Alright, so now that you got your biggest supporters, what you're going to do is you're going to take your jar, you're going to fill it all the way, rest all the way up with your big rocks. So it should look something like this. You want a little bit of room for the next step. So our next step is our, middle supporters, like someone who's there for you, but not quite all the way there all the time, like your parents or your grandparents might be. So what I've got is I got our little rocks. It can be any color, it doesn't matter. So what you're going to do is you're going to write down some of your maybe close friends or friends that you would consider your middle supporters, maybe not so much as your family or something like that. Write down about at least 10 people and why they're close to you in your supporting system. Alright, so now that you got your middle supporters kind of in mind, what you're going to do is you're going to take some of those small rocks in the bag and you're going to pour it into your jar. Question is your support system full? We'll find out. So now what you had to do is you have to put your lid on your container. You have to shake it. The little holes, there are to fill the little holes. This is the fun part. It works easier if you kind of roll it. Right. Add a little bit more. Okay. Put the lid back on tight. So we're gonna roll it around a little bit more. See if the rocks will disperse. Okay. Now that you got your rocks mostly dispersed, it's gonna kind of look something like this, where you got your little rocks along with your big rocks. So you got your big supporters with your medium-sized supporters in there. So now what I want you to do is I want you to kind of think about your smallest supporters. So like maybe it's a teacher, or maybe it's a trusted adult, or maybe you consider your teacher your middle one. Who knows? It could also be acquaintances, maybe people that you met along the way, like family, friends, or someone that like you kind of think like maybe they'll support me, but I don't know how much they'll support me. It could also be people that you find on social media that just kind of randomly post every once in a while to your social media as well. So you're going to take the cap back off. What you're going to do is you're going to write about 10 people down. If you can't think of names, maybe think of some different subjects like I just mentioned. Yeah, so what we're going to do next is we're going to take our sand, which represents our little supporters. So people that are maybe support us just a little bit, just to get us going, So we're going to take our sand, we're going to take our scoop we have here, and we're going to take it, we're going to put it into our jar. Now this can be a little bit messy, so hold the jar over top of your bin where you have your sand. And kind of just shake it back and forth. I like to roll it because it gets a little bit more even and dispersed. So I got some sand in there right now. So I'm going to keep going. It might take a little bit just because you still got those little nooks and crannies in between the big rocks and the little rocks to fill. Roll it again. Maybe put it upside down. Roll it. Any way you can try and figure out how to fill your nooks and crannies with your support. Okay. So we're going to roll again. I just put another scoop of sand in. This works maybe a little bit easier if you just put it up to this line with the big rocks so that you have some room to kind of maneuver them a little bit. I didn't do that. Alright, so this is probably about as good as I'm going to get for right now with the sand disbursement within the rocks. So it's technically kind of supposed to look a little bit better than this, but this is kind of what I've got so far. You can see the sand in between some of the rocks here. A lot of it's kind of more towards the top of the bottle than the bottom. But kind of the idea is to fill every nook and cranny with as much support as you can, because we need our support systems to be able to function and have some strong relationships with family and friends, and just be able to function as a human being. Because if we don't have the support, how are we going to actually, feel good about ourselves? Maybe feel proud. You never know. So like the last layer that we're going to do is water. Water can be kind of tricky. So the idea is my jar full when I have my support system at my big rocks? Okay, so you fill it up with big rocks. No, it's still not full. We still have our medium and our little supporters to go. So we fill up our medium supporters. Is it full? No, we still got more. We got our acquaintances, our trusted adults, our teachers. So like everyone in our life is kind of the biggest supporters that we have around. So, and society is also kind of supporting you as well, in many different ways. So like think of like more generations kind of stuff, like millennials or Generation X, like how does the society treat those kind of kids and adults that are now taking over, like the baby boomers and everything. So think of it in that term. So we're going to add some water now. So when you're adding the water, you want to pour it as slowly as you can so none of it kind of splashes out and makes a mess. So I've got this. We're adding some water to it. As you can see, it's filling up. So almost to the top now. Okay. So now this one you're really going to want to put your lid on for. Alright, so with the water, the sand kind of squirts a little bit better. So as you can see, as we're rolling it around, make sure the lid is on super tight. As we're rolling around, you can see that there's still a little bit of nooks and crannies in here. But that's okay, because we're always building our support system as we go. So like think about when you get to college, well, who are going to be your supporters? Your parents aren't going to be there. They'll be there in spirit, but they won't be there. So maybe some new friends, or maybe some of your professors, or something along those lines. So you're going to have lots of room to build your support system along the way. So as you can see, our support system, we've got a lot of big rocks, right? Some small rocks and then sand. But all in all, we fill in our gaps of our jar. So, yeah. So what's the importance of our support system? I want you to write down the importance of having a support system. Also, who are your support system? Why are they in a specific category and why they are important to you? Everyone has a different importance to different people and whatnot. And then also, why do we have room to grow our support system? Why do we need that? Why is that so important? So I want you to do a little reflection on this a little bit here. I'll give you a little bit of time in class to do it. So.